The growing divide and disconnect between the issues that actual Canadians care about and the issues that politicians and legacy media journalists care about becomes clearer by the day. One of those issues happens to be the story unfolding as we speak outside of a City of Toronto homeless intake center. Approximately 30 to 40 asylum seekers have camped outside of this homeless intake center in tents and tarps because they have nowhere else to live. Now, we're not exactly sure how these asylum seekers made it to Canada. Legacy media journalists don't seem to care about that part of the story, but we do know that most of them seem to be from Africa. Politicians, as you can surely imagine, have gravitated toward this story and have used these asylum seekers who are in very uncomfortable positions as political tools to attack other levels of government and demand more funding from other levels. Ultimately, immigration, refugees, and asylum seekers are the responsibility of the federal government, and nobody is more proud of welcoming in a record number of refugees and asylum seekers each year into Canada than Justin Trudeau. All the while, despite knowing full well that Canadians under his leadership have never had it so bad. Record numbers of Canadians have to rely on food banks just to stay alive. Each month, 40,000 trips to the food bank are taken by children. In fact, things are so bad that 11 million Canadians just qualified for a grocery rebate check, which means that over a quarter of the population is earning less than minimum wage and can barely afford food to stay alive. This government under Justin Trudeau wants more refugees, more asylum seekers, and way more immigrants. Now, these 30 to 40 asylum seekers facing the issues that millions of Canadians seem to be facing themselves are getting quite a lot of media attention. But none of this reporting seems to take aim at the man ultimately responsible, Justin Trudeau. It's quite clear. Canada does not have the resources, does not have the infrastructure, and crucially, does not have the funding and the money to support more asylum seekers in this country. Isn't it inhumane to be welcoming more asylum seekers just for them to end up on the streets like other Canadians? And instead of forcing homelessness on people from around the world, isn't it time that we solved that issue facing Canadians first? On this episode of Ratioed, we're going to go down to this encampment outside of this homelessness intake center, ask these asylum seekers the questions that legacy media journalists aren't asking them, and get you the facts. Drop a like in the video, help us out by subscribing to the True North YouTube channel, and the comment question for the episode is this. Is immigration a top 3 issue for you as a voter? Let me know in the comments, and let's get into it. Justin Trudeau is without a doubt the global poster boy for mass immigration. Under his leadership, immigration into Canada has absolutely boomed. Also, asylum seekers illegally entering Canada claiming refugee status has also boomed, triggering much of the issues we now see facing asylum seekers in our largest cities. The story unfolding outside of a City of Toronto homeless intake center is likely not an isolated incident. According to Toronto's new socialist mayor, the City of Toronto's shelter system is full. It is at capacity. And in her latest press release on this issue, she stated that over a third of the Toronto shelter capacity is occupied by asylum seekers. We also know that the federal government has been spending tens of millions of dollars, in some cases over $100 million, to resettle asylum seekers in hotel rooms across the country. In May alone, the City of Toronto saw 2,900 refugee claimants applying for Toronto shelter in their system, which is a 440% jump since September of 2021. And the story is the same for cities in the GTA. The city of Ajax, for example, in a matter of days, noticed a 40% increase in the homeless population in that city. Under Justin Trudeau's leadership, Canada has only sped up the number of asylum seekers and refugees entering Canada, whether it be illegally or through an official port of entry. But the federal government has spent hundreds of millions of dollars buying hotel rooms for refugees and asylum seekers in this country. Hotel rooms that stretch across the country from Surrey, British Columbia to St. John's, Newfoundland. Over 100,000 people have illegally entered Canada through Roxham Road since 2017. And according to this Western Standard article, the cost on the federal government, which means the cost that you and I are paying for, per asylum seeker who entered illegally is close to $1,270. But that number, however, doesn't even come close to the true cost borne by taxpayers per illegal asylum seeker who enters the country at Roxham Road. According to a report by the Parliamentary Budget Officer in 2018, the true cost borne by taxpayers per illegal asylum seeker entering this country can vary between $9,000 up to $33,000. Meanwhile, the federal government can only really muster up a couple $100 to a family of 4 struggling to get by in the form of a grocery rebate, something 11 million Canadians qualify for, which actually means that a quarter of the population makes less than minimum wage. Up to $33,000 for an illegal asylum seeker to be housed in a hotel room and to receive food, while Canadians struggling get a couple $100, which would really mean 1 or 2 trips to the grocery store for a family of 4. Despite the fact that millions of Canadians are struggling to get by and that asylum seekers are now camped out on our streets because we can't find a place for them to live, just last month on World Refugee Day, Trudeau took the chance to grandstand on the issue and proclaim to the world how pro-refugee he is and how great Canada is as a destination for refugees. Look at this statement from the Prime Minister. On World Refugee Day, Canada is stepping up. In 2022, for the 4th year in a row, we were the top country in the world to resettle refugees. Last year, Canada resettled over 47,500 refugees from over 80 countries. Not to mention, of course, the now famous tweet that he wrote in 2017, proclaiming to the world that Canada will welcome anybody. Remember when he wrote this? To those fleeing persecution, terror, and war, Canadians will welcome you regardless of your faith. Diversity is our strength. And since Justin Trudeau wrote that tweet, over 150,000 asylum seekers have entered Canada. And last year, the Canadian government announced that we would be welcoming in an extra 500,000 immigrants a year into this country. Don't worry though, I'm sure the government is really concerned about you being able to afford a house and also being able to pay for groceries when we're bringing in all of these new people. It is a sad sight to see asylum seekers living on the streets outside of a City of Toronto homeless intake shelter. But it also serves as a crystal clear representation of the failure of this government to handle immigration. A country where homeless shelters are full, where hundreds of millions of taxpayer dollars have to be spent on hotel rooms to house migrants across the country, can no longer afford to welcome in more asylum seekers, despite the federal government continuing to open the floodgates. We're going to head down to this encampment to go figure out what the situation is for ourselves. We're going to talk to these asylum seekers directly, see what they have to say about their experience of Canada, their experience of Justin Trudeau's leadership in this country, what they were promised, how they came to Canada, all of that, the kind of stuff that needs to be told if we're going to accurately report on this story. So that is what we're going to do right now. This is what the scene looked like today outside of the Peter Street homeless shelter facility. There had to have been 40 or 50 people there, and they were all from Africa, living in third world condition on our streets. Garbage bags and luggage were piled up on the street corner, and people were all huddled around a few tents. A lot of people understandably did not want to be on camera. After all, being on the street in that position is a very vulnerable position. It's a very humiliating position for people to be in. So not everyone wanted to talk, and it was difficult to get people to talk on camera. I did manage to speak with one man who had been there for a week and a half, and he came from Nigeria. And he had some very interesting things to say about what he was expecting and what it's like, and also whether or not he would come to Canada, knowing now what was waiting for him here in Toronto. Take a listen to what he had to say.
My name is Odi Mojebe.
Okay, and how long have you been here specifically at this location?
This is a week and 1 day now.
Okay, and what country do you come from?
I come from Nigeria.
Nigeria?
Yeah.
Before you came to Canada, did you know that this was going to be what was going to happen when you landed here?
No, this is not what I expected.
And what did you expect, if you don't mind me asking?
My expectation is like when I came to Canada, I came to work and live. And I was wishing that they can, provide a shelter and give me some paper so I can, to be like others. There is some people have been here more than 2 weeks, 3 weeks. Wow, I was like, no, this is not what I was expecting. So now we are still here till now. We sleep on the floor. This is the place we sleep. Rain, sun, shine us every day by day. And the government of Canada have not come and to let us know or give us hope. Say, okay, this is what we're gonna do. This is yes. And that is how everything was going.
So you think people need to be told the truth before they come to Canada, what they're really waiting for?
Yes,
yeah.
You have to let us know, because we can't live all the way from Africa.
Right.
We spend a lot of money to get a visa. Now we get down here, we start sleeping on the streets. It's not proper.
And last question, I appreciate your time. Last question. If you knew that this was going to be what was waiting for you here in Toronto, would you have come or would you not have come?
I would not have come, because I got a family.
Yeah.
I got a family. I got a home. Please, the little we are doing to survive is enough. Right now, since I've been here, no money, only food and water, and that is not enough.
Amazing.
It's not enough. You can see all of us, we are human beings. Everybody have life to live and have focus in life. And there's something everybody needs, like we live Africa. We know that, yes, our leaders are not treating us good. That's why we decided, okay, let us go to another country now that will welcome us, give us what we need, and we work for them and live like that. That's why.
Thank you. There was food making its way to the encampment. I was there for an hour and saw multiple trips of people bringing in food, whether it be pizza or more culturally African food. None of the people in this encampment are going hungry. But it's not like the government is taking care of these people. All of the food entering the encampment is from people on the street and from organizations like the Social Justice Initiative. I spoke to this woman who is running the operation there. She was handing out women's hygiene products and food at this table. Here's what she had to say about what's going on the ground. So you've been here for 4 weeks, so you must have seen people come and people go, and what is the government providing to people? Are they providing what you guys are providing in the form of food?
No. There's no government help at all, but we are hoping that the government will step in soon, because we listen to Olivia Chow say they're meeting again on Tuesday to decide how to offer the help. But what we request is let them put the help where it will reach these people, because some of them want culturally appropriate supports. So we are literally pulling amongst ourselves to support them.
And are you also helping with these people, trying to get them a shelter service when they can, or is it more just providing free materials?
We just give them lists for shelters. Even those in our homes, they leave every morning looking for shelters. When they don't get, they come back. We're always waiting to accommodate them. So yeah.
Do you think that the federal government has a duty to tell people who are seeking refugee status in Canada that, look, it might not be what you think it's going to be, that we don't have the capacity? Do you think people need to understand that this is where we're at right now in Canada, that it's maybe not what they expect it to be before they land?
I think they need to be prepared, But unfortunately, when you're seeking refuge, you go wherever you're welcome. You never ask about the conditions, you just want to escape. So that may be a little bit hard, but if it is shared, which I don't think it will be, it would help. But yeah, people choose where they think they're safe. It's when they reach here that they get a different story. Yes, they are safe from the persecution, but they are sleeping on the streets.
Amazing. Thank you. If you have one last message to people in charge, you've been working here for 4 weeks, you've seen it. What's your message be to people who have the ability to help?
My message is we need help now, not tomorrow, but now, because it's threatening to rain. It's going to rain on them. We have women here who have a risk of being sex trafficked, because someone will offer them shelter and take them to their homes and sexually abuse them because they are vulnerable.
Kevin Vuong, the independent MP for Spadina Fort York, has been on the ground at this encampment for many days now, speaking to the media and trying to fight on behalf of these asylum seekers. I caught up with Kevin Vuong and asked him the question that I think many people watching this show want to know. If the situation is so bad for refugees and asylum seekers entering Canada, isn't it incumbent on the government to scale back the amount of refugees and asylum seekers we're accepting if this is the condition that they're living in? Here's what he had to say about that, and also what he has to say about the way the federal government is handling what's going on.
The political line from Olivia Chow, and I'm guessing it's from all levels, is that the shelters are full and that they can't find space to put people in. Some people don't believe that the shelters are full. They think that it's purely politics. You're a politician, you're an MP, you've been here. What's your assessment been of what's been going on?
There are some immediate things that the mayor could be doing right now. One of the actions that she could take right now is to request from the federal government to open up the armory, as has been done in the past during the winter, to get the homeless out of the cold. That's an action that could be done right now. But unfortunately, it seems like they're playing politics where they're trying to use these people as bargaining chips to extract more funding. It's clear that there is a funding issue, but the priority now is to get these people off the street. And these are people, these are human beings. They should not be used for political leverage, and that needs to stop right now, and we need to get these people off the street.
Do you think that if it's true that the resources and the infrastructure isn't here to welcome as many people as the Canadian government does each year, is it incumbent on the government to actually scale down those numbers so that we don't have these situations out on the street?
The thing is, refugees at the end of the day are a federal responsibility, right? So the Prime Minister has got up and said 4 times in a row, including last year, that he is proud of the fact that Canada has welcomed the most refugees in the world. Frankly, I am too. I am the son of refugees. This country welcomed my parents 40 years ago, but when they came here, there was shelter, there were support services. The government needs to step up. This is not new news. I raised this issue in March when they released the 2023 budget. It had $0 in there for refugee shelters. I raised it again in April, I raised it again in May. They can't continue to boast on the one hand about all these great things that they love to tell everyone about, but then not follow through. They need to walk the talk, and they need to come with the dollars as well. The mayor needs to put politics aside and ask for the federal government to provide them with, open up the armory so these can get these people off the street.
Last question. This is a bad look for Canada to have these refugees being stuck out on the sidewalk.
Disgraceful.
And it's been, in some cases, 2 weeks. I've heard people say a month. How long do you think the government will be willing to let this go on for?
The last time all levels of government came together was on Friday. For some reason, they thought they needed to take the weekend and then some off. Why weren't they at the table trying to figure out a solution? The next meeting that all levels come together is tomorrow on Tuesday. Why aren't they coming back to the table now? Where's the urgency? This reflects not just poorly on Canada in the international stage, it reflects poorly on the government here with its community, with the very people that elected it. Where are Toronto's 24 other Liberal MPs, of which 4 are cabinet ministers? Why is this not a priority? Why is this not an urgency? Why did they have time to go on Saturday for a party with the mayor and a Liberal MP, but yet not have time to go back to the table to figure out a solution to get these people off the street? It's disgusting, it's shameful, and they need to step up and walk the talk and act.
After speaking with around 15 of these asylum seekers, several things became clear to me. None of these asylum seekers have entered the country through Roxham Road. As far as I can tell, they've all flown in directly to Toronto. But it's interesting because, as we know, asylum seekers who have entered the country illegally through Roxham Road have been put up in hotel rooms. These people have flown into Toronto and are now living out on the street. I even asked a group of gentlemen if they were aware of the fact that the federal government was spending tens of millions, if not hundreds of millions of dollars on resettlement programs for illegal migrants. They had no idea that that was going on. It could be, as a matter of fact, that the people crossing into Canada illegally through Roxham Road are being treated better than these people from Africa. Here's my 2 cents after spending some time on the ground at this encampment. If this is actually what's going on in Toronto, as in if there really is no space in the shelter system for these people and for any more refugees, while Canadians are struggling like they've never had to before, while millions of Canadians are facing serious food insecurity problems. It's not humane to bring new people in when we don't have the capacity to handle them, all the while our own people are struggling. All right, everyone, that's going to do it for us today on the show. Thank you so much for tuning in. My name is Harrison Faulkner, and this is Ratio.